I think different coaches have different perspectives on what toughness really is. Especially for you, you're working with like fourth, fifth grade athletes, so it probably looks different for them. But
Yeah.
I guess from like the strength side, I think coaches always thought of toughness as like, okay, make them do hard things, like put them through the grinder, like off season, let's get tougher. We need to be tougher. But like for me, I always saw toughness as just being consistent with, the things you don't enjoy, maybe. And I get it looks different to everyone. So I guess for you, like what do
Yeah.
you see toughness as, and how are you trying to make them tough?
Yeah. I just kind of spent the morning thinking about it, kind of knowing that maybe we would go back to this conversation. And toughness is hard to define because I think that it takes a lot of different forms. You know what I mean? It's like you can talk about the general idea of being tough or, instilling toughness in kids, but all of us are going to go through different decisions every day, and being tough within those decisions looks different for each of us, and so like I guess like for me, you know obviously toughness at different times of your life means different things. Like I th- I think about right now like areas that I'm trying to be tough in, right? And then maybe I can go back into like what I'm trying to do, talk about with the kids. But
Hmm.
like I know one thing that's, we think about like, certainly we've talked about goal setting, right? And like setting goals and what we want to be, whether it's something that we want to do physically or something we want to do professionally, or the type of family we want to have, or for our kids, it's, I want to move from the white team to the red team, or I want to make sure that we're, you know, our team's the best team in the Midwest or the state or whatever. And there's all these different goals and stuff. And like, I would say for me, like, being tough right now is more so like I think of the things that take away from where I want to be as a person, right? Like I'm really thinking about the type of person I want to be now, right? The type of leader. And I feel like in order for me to lead these kids in toughness, and I need to be tough myself. And like as somebody that was a part of different organizations, not having like as much of a say that I did as I do now in the past, right? Like I was just a part of, I was being told what to do. You know what I mean? And certainly I had my teams that I was leading, but I wasn't the one like formulating the message, right? Like trying to set the culture. I wasn't the one talking to parents about who we are and why we're making the decisions we're making, etc. So like it was a lot easier to kind of coast, and be okay with maybe not even being my best self, but being good enough, right? But now it's like when it's kind of the same thing. Like, in order for me to lead these kids, I need to like be out front. And like we talked about jokingly before, like you guys, like you kind of need to be out front, and you're trying to like trailblaze a little bit, right? And if you're going to go into a territory that you haven't been before, so like if we're going to step into a territory, at All Iowa Attack where we haven't been before, of being the premier program in Iowa on the boys side, not just the girls side, right? For me, like uncharted territories, like being a great husband, and like trying to figure out what that means, right? And then eventually, God willing, hoping to have a family, and then being a great father and what that means. And then, something that I've always tried to be is be a good son, right? And to be a good brother to you guys and to Peyton. But that's still something that I'm always trying to work on, right? And improve, because I feel like there's been times in my life where I haven't made that as much of a priority as I think I'm trying to do now. You know what I mean? Or sometimes I have, and then I've gone away from it because other things have taken the focus or priority of my life. So like back to my point is, what negatively impacts that pursuit for me, right? And how, if I can make all these little decisions, right, that move me closer to where I want to be, like what gets in the way. And for me, like one thing that's gotten in the way, like oftentimes, has been alcohol, right? Like alcohol has probably been the biggest thing where I make all these positive decisions, and then all of a sudden I have a bad night drinking, and then there's some negative consequence that comes of that, right? And like I think that was a way for me to kind of mask like maybe the mistakes that I've made, or you know what I mean? And so for me, like toughness now is like not ever having a drink during the week, right? Like being the guy that drives instead of the person that is getting driven for. You know what I mean? Like, I went a long time of just like being just months of sobriety. You know what I mean? Just to like to avoid that situation entirely. And so like that's what toughness for me right now means, is like, abstaining from that. And that has given me clarity in like, okay, if I'm being tough in this area of my life and trying to be a better husband and a better brother and a better son, then I'm going to be better suited to lead these kids in toughness for whatever it is that they're needing to be tough in, whatever that decision is. So whether that's, in the pursuit of basketball, getting up in the morning before school to get in the gym because you don't have time after school, you're part of multiple sports, or that's the only time you have, or, after school, or finding, asking your parents to take you to the gym. I know this is a lot of basketball specific stuff, but it's like life's pretty simple when you're a kid, getting your homework done in school instead of after school, like working hard in study hall so that you have time when you get home, limiting the amount of time you're on the video games, right? So that, looking at your actual screen time. Like Dixon always makes an example of kids. He says, go and get your phone, right? Look at your screen time. And it's usually like anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, 7 hours a day. These kids are on their phone. So it's like, well, how are you going to be a great basketball player if you're on your phone for that much time? Just take half of that and spend it in the gym. You know what I mean? Or spend it watching basketball, or, like convert that time and put it to something that's more productive for yourself. So I know it's kind of a whole bunch of different tangents, but that leads to later on in life. So hopefully, like, they've developed toughness in basketball, and that's what I'm called to do, and how I'm called to serve right now and called to lead, is to like make you the best basketball player that you can be. And I always tell them, if that's not what you want, then you're in the wrong place. And if that's not what you want, then you need to tell me so I can let you slide. You know what I mean? But then I also tell them, I think you're wasting your time if you're not trying to be great at basketball. You should go try to be great at something else. You know what I mean? Something that you love, right? Because you can't go back and get this time back, right? So like if you start that pursuit now of trying to be great at something as a 4th or 5th grader, then, you're going to be way ahead of people when, it comes to 8th grade or comes to high school. Like these people are going to want to go back in time and they wish they would have worked harder earlier, but you've been doing it since you were a 4th grader and it's what you love to do. And so now you're great. And, you know that you're proud of the time you spent doing that for a long period of your life. So, and then hopefully that translates to the harder things that come on later in life, right? Picking a school, right? Dealing with, different peer pressures in high school, same thing in college, right? Alcohol, all those things, relationships, being tough in a relationship, like being true to your relationship in college, like, etc. down the road. Just trying to hopefully plant seeds of toughness for young kids so that when they experience things that are actually truly tough, a sibling gets cancer or whatever, like we've had multiple people that have experienced that this year, and like that's actually hard, like that's actually really tough, and that's what, like, sometimes I even look at my challenges or things that I'm trying to be tough and I'm like, that's, like, how can I not be tough in this situation when other people are dealing with this? But sometimes that's, I don't know, not really productive and not really true. We can only handle, we can control what we control and deal with the battles that we're facing. But, like another thing that I'm trying to be tough in is like, also one of the worst things that I can do is when Paige makes me say like positive affirmations about myself, right? Where she'll be like, sometimes I get down on myself because I know I haven't been the person I want to be, or I'm not feeling good about who I am or whatever. And she's like, no, like you need to stop. You're not stupid. You're not dumb. Right. And then she'll make me say like, I'm smart. I'm a good person. Like I am kind. And then like to actually look her in the eyes and try to get those things out. Like I have to I joke when I say it usually, because I start thinking back about mistakes that I've made, and okay, I really don't feel this way about myself, but I need to, because if I don't love myself, then, how am I supposed to continue to move forward? So I don't know, that's a long tangent, but that's kind of, I guess, what I mean when I'm talking about toughness, kind of broken down into specific situations in my life, and also kind of how I'm applying it to leading a youth basketball program.